Hi, Catherine. Thanks for joining us. We'll give everyone just a minute to trickle in before we get started, but excited to have you here. And before other people join, would love for you to introduce yourself so that we can tailor today's content to you. And we'll just give everyone a second to trickle in.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you all?
Doing well. We're just giving people a second to trickle in and then we'll get started, but would love to hear what made you curious to join today.
I just came across Curious Cardinals and I think the concept is really exciting, so just wanted to learn more.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you here. And we will give people I'll give people one more minute to trickle in, and I'm sure more people will join as we get started. But excited to have you all joining us today. Um, Okay, well, we will let people trickle in, but hello, good morning if you're joining us. We're zooming in from San Francisco. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast or wherever you are in the world. As everyone is joining, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. Let us know where you're zooming in from, how old your kids are, and what made you curious to join today. We want to make this interactive. It's a small, intimate group, so we don't want this to feel like a webinar where we're just speaking at you. We would love to hear from you. I will kick us off with introductions. I'm Jules. I started at Curious Cardinals as a mentor when I was a student at Northwestern, and now I'm on our full-time team and I support our parent community. Also on the call, I have Brittany and Kaylee from our family admissions team. So they'll be here listening in, helping me out, but they are amazing people, former educators joining the call today. And so excited to have you all here. Um, so again, would love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us where you're zooming in from, how old your kids are, what made you curious to join today. And I will go ahead and share my screen and get started so you can keep things tight and keep things going on this Wednesday morning. But excited to have you all here. So today we're talking about Curious Cardinals. I'll share an overview of who we are and what we do, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end, but feel free to write questions in the chat throughout. And then at the end, you can also unmute yourself and ask questions live. So excited to have this time to spend with you all today and to share a little bit more about Curious Cardinals and who we are and what we do. And thank you, Kimberly, for kicking off the introductions. We love the New York representation. We're so excited that you're here today. And if anyone else wants to introduce themselves in the chat, we would love to hear who you are and what made you curious to join. So without further ado, I will share what Curious Cardinals is. Curious Cardinals is a one-on-one mentorship program. We pair K through 12 students with college and grad student mentors to help them work on passion projects where they can develop their curiosity and build confidence and the critical skills that will last in the AI era we're living in. And to share a little bit about our founding story and how we came to be, Curious Cardinals was founded almost 6 years ago by Audrey and Alec. They were Stanford students who got sent home during the pandemic, and Audrey started tutoring kids online, and she noticed that they were disengaged and uninspired. They were memorizing and regurgitating information for Friday's test, but they didn't understand why any of it mattered or how it connected to their lives. And so she started doing something different, and she connected their learning to their interest. And one student asked for math help, but Audrey wasn't as passionate about math, so she called Alec, who was a Stanford aerospace engineer. And instead of drilling math equations, Alec showed the students how math makes airplanes fly. And that's when they realized this is how learning should work. And what started as one relationship has grown. They started recruiting their most passionate peers from Stanford and other top universities. And we've worked with over 15,000 students over the past 6 years. And we have a network of 1,000 active mentors from top universities across the country. So that's a little bit of background on how we came to be. And for more on what this actually looks like in practice, who we are and what we do, we have kind of four pillars of the work that we do. The first is matching. And so matching is the process of pairing students with near peer mentors. And so our mentors are college students, grad students, and recent grads, and we'll share a little bit more about their background later in the slides. But the heart of what we do is finding the nodes of connection between your K through 12 student and our college students. So if you come to us and you have a seventh grader who loves Taylor Swift and plays volleyball and needs help in biology, we can find the Stanford bio major who also loves Taylor Swift and plays volleyball. And so they have those connections and they can build a relationship that goes beyond just the typical I need help with this subject type of work. And then the next pillar is structure. So every session has a framework. Our mentors help students set clear, smart goals. And we really drive consistency. And so that's we encourage students and their mentors to meet once a week. And that's where we've seen real change happen. It's not the marathon cram session right before the project is due. It's the steady weekly relationship that we've seen works best. And at the end of the day, our goal is to inspire a love of learning. Our North Star is helping students find their North Star. And so we want kids to feel like what they're learning is connected to who they are, what they're passionate about, and we want to give them agency to do things that they're passionate about and believe in. And what that looks like in practice is kind of two main tracks. The first is academic mentorship, which is kind of like tutoring, except we like to say tutoring is the T word because it has a connotation of being transactional and again for Friday's test, and that's not what we want to do. We want to help students connect their learning to their interests and develop study strategies and cultivate the skills that will last a lifetime. And then really the heart of what we do is passion project work. And so that's a chance for students to dive into an area of interest and explore something that they're passionate about, and that can look like building a portfolio, which is really common for students interested in art and engineering. It can look like doing research and publishing a research paper or presenting at a science fair, launching an organization, whether that's a business or a club or a nonprofit, or doing content creation. So maybe you have a future podcaster, YouTuber, blogger on your hands. Those are kind of the different areas that we support students in, and we'll show some project examples and share more in the coming slides. But that's kind of the heart of what we do. And then along with that, we also offer executive functioning support, so helping with those time management skills and all the nitty-gritty things that often K through 12 students need a little bit of extra support with. And then pathfinding is another really popular offering. So if your student comes to us and they don't yet know what they want to do, that's totally okay. We are here to support them in the journey of passion excavation and figuring out what lights them up and how they could turn that into a real world project. And so that's kind of the holistic big picture overview of who we are and what we do. But we will kind of share what those projects look like in practice. And I know Kaylee just shared some great music examples in the chat, which is awesome to see. I will share kind of students through the ages across the different project types, starting with Armand. Armand came to us as a third grader. He's from the Bay Area, and he invented a copper bar of soap that never expires and never runs out. It doesn't need water, and so his thought process is that it could be really good for areas where water is a scarce resource. And Armand invented this bar of soap. It's in the development and testing phase right now. He's working to produce it at scale. And this is an example of one of our younger, gifted, and talented students doing amazing, incredible work. And I'm sure this will be in the portfolio of projects that he builds through the years. Next is Karis. Karis is an eighth grader from Seattle. and she founded a youth-led nonprofit that connects students to dementia care facilities. She had read research that play is really important for the improving the patient outcomes of dementia care programs, but it's often not common. And so she went door to door, literally. The care facilities were saying no, and so she went to 15 dementia care facilities in person, and hustled, and now is leading this initiative that she's scaling across the Pacific Northwest, bringing cross-generational impact and connecting people together. Um, Next is Sloan. Sloan is an amazing 10th grader from New York. She is doing research. It feels very timely right now to be thinking about space. She wrote a mission concept about cleaning up Earth's lower orbit, and then NASA reached out to her and she published a mission concept with them and has visited the Marshall Space Center, and is doing amazing work, kind of thinking about how we can clean up lower Earth orbit, which is so important as we think about what we want to do in the next venture of space frontier. And so that's one example of what it can look like to do research. We have students present at science fairs. We have students publish research in a variety of journals. And so this is one example of what that could look like. Um, and then one more student story that I'll share for now is Josh. Josh kind of did all of the different tracks with us throughout his time working with us. He was born with clubfoot, and so he wanted to do meaningful work and connect student or families experiencing clubfoot to other families experiencing clubfoot and share kind of the knowledge. And he created this nonprofit, and through his nonprofit, he wrote blog posts, he published research, he had an internship. And so he kind of covered all the different things of starting an organization, doing research, making content, and now he is a student at Penn. So that's one more example of kind of what the trajectory and journey can look like. And if you're wondering how we get to these amazing final projects, I'll share the story of Rose as an example to break down the process and the journey. So we have what's called our magic project formula, and it's really just a fancy way of um, explaining how we help students excavate their passions. And so we ask students what their interests are, and we think about the skills that they want to build and the medium that they want to use and who they want to be impacted by this, and we put it together into a project. And so for Rose, that looked like asking her what she was genuinely curious about. And Rose had a love of jewelry. She is a girly girl. She loves fashion and all things pink. And then we asked her what are her superpowers, what are her strengths, and she has a natural ability to influence. All of her friends turn to her for recommendations and for advice. And we told her that she could turn that into marketing and selling and develop real skills to do that, and to put her love of fashion and her ability to sell together, but we didn't make her do it alone. We gave her Phoebe as a guide to help her along this journey. Phoebe was the president of the fashion club at Brown. She worked at Louis Vuitton in Paris. She's an amazing mentor to help guide Rose through her journey of someone who's relatable and cool and a little bit older, who has a little bit of the business acumen and the fashion passion to help Rose combine her interests and channel this into something real. And Rose, as a ninth grader, had more than $10,000 in revenue. And she has partnered with Love Shack Fancy. She's done trunk shows. And this is just the beginning of her journey. So think if this is ninth grade, how she'll be able to scale this over the next few years. And so that's kind of an example of how we break down what this actually looks like, and what the process looks like over time. And so hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense of what this could look like for your student if we were to ask them what they're interested in and think about what their superpowers are. We can find all the little points of connection and then give them a mentor who can help guide them on whatever they want to do, whether that's Diana, who has a daughter who's an aspiring singer, wanting to find someone who can serve that passion, or Kimberly's aspiring astrophysicist. We have mentors who can support lots of different areas. And then we like to give students something to build toward. So we are hosting our second Timeless Skills in an AI Era pitch competition. It's open to all students, K through 12. Maybe Brittany or Kaylee can share the link in the chat for you to learn more about it. But it's open to all students. So whether or not your student is working with the Curious Cardinals mentor, they can build alone. We can support them. And submissions are due in just about a month. Our finalists will pitch to industry-leading judges on May 17th. Our judges this spring are Michael Seibel, the former CEO and president of Y Combinator, which is one of the most well-known startup incubators, Zarna Garg, the famous author and comedian, and Laura Modi, the co-founder and CEO of Bobby, the formula brand that reached $100 million in revenue in its first 18 months. And so those are kind of things that we like to give students, whether it's our competitions, whether it's external competitions, or research program deadlines. We like to give students something real to build toward. And this spring's competition is supported by google.org. So it's a really great opportunity if your student is interested in doing amazing work. Rose and Sloan and Armand were all finalists in last year's competition. And so we're so excited to see what this year's students do. I am very excited to see what comes next month. And just to share a little bit about our mentors and kind of who they are and what they do and what they could support your kids with. Our mentors are the best of the best. They are the top of class. They are presidents of clubs, Rhodes Scholars, D1 athletes. They are amazing people who can inspire your kids. And I will share two mentor examples, two of the more than 1,000 mentors actively working with us. First, I'll share Yusuf. Yusuf is a graduate student at Columbia University. He's studying biomedical engineering and he mentors students in math and science topics. He helps with STEM projects and those core academic functions. So Yusuf is one type of person that your student could work with. Another is Cece. Cece went to Dartmouth and is now working as a documentary filmmaker. And she helps support students in film and in writing. So if you have an aspiring artist, think that they could work with someone who is doing this work, who's not too far ahead, so that feels relatable and accessible, but still someone who has the subject matter expertise. Cece's an award-winning filmmaker, for example, and so she is helping support her students in their filmmaking endeavors. So it's cool for them to see a relatable figure doing amazing and impressive work. And if you're sitting here wondering, reliable college students, are you sure? We have a very competitive application process and a thorough vetting of our mentors. Our mentors really are the best of the best. We have a super high bar of who gets to mentor. And then once people are accepted, they have thorough onboarding and support from our team. More than half of our full-time team is former educators and people who went to Stanford and Harvard's graduate schools of education. And so we have people who are able to let our college students what they do best, which is that subject matter expertise and near peer inspiration, but they have the scaffolding and support of our team. We also have a curriculum and content library, and so we help students with lots of different things, and we equip our mentors with all the tools that they would need. So we have an executive functioning curriculum that's been developed with experts, among other things. And so we have lots of programs and tools in place to help support our mentors, to support students to the best of their ability. And then our mentors get feedback and reviews from our team. I'll share that when I was a mentor, my monthly digest email telling me everything I was doing well and everything I could be doing better was one of my favorite emails to get. I miss it. I wish I had it for every aspect of my life. And so our mentors are in constant contact with our team, getting feedback, and we have a good loop there. And so know that these are people who are equipped to work with your students. And if you're hearing all of this and it sounds like something you're interested in, I'll share a little bit more about how it works if you wanted to get started. So students and mentors meet weekly, and scheduling is super easy through our platform. And then you schedule, your student meets with their mentor, and you get notes after every session. So you don't have to nag your student about what was covered. Our mentors will let you know. As someone who has a younger brother who's a junior in high school, I know that if I was to ask him, what'd you do today? He would say stuff. I'd say, how was it? He would say, fine. And so I totally empathize with the parents who are trying to get more out of their kids. And hopefully one parent shared that notes make it so that she can ask how things are going instead of what are you doing. And so hopefully we can give you those dinner table conversation starters of being able to connect with your students about the work that they're doing with their mentor. And then thinking about a bigger picture, every 4 sessions, you get a bigger update of kind of the trajectory of how things are going and what the milestones have been. And then on a quarterly basis, you get an engagement report that looks at the more holistic 360 overview. And then we encourage students and mentors to regularly set goals. Often goal setting happens around kind of key points of summer, back to school, the beginning of the year. And those are kind of core points where goal setting is super common. And we have our students set SMART goals. And so we give them the structure and scaffolding and support that they need and all the tools and resources to set them up for best success. And if you were wondering how to sign up, you would schedule a call to speak to our family admissions team. So that's people like Brittany and Kaylee who are on this call right now. And then you would schedule time with them and they would ask you a lot of questions about your kids. They want to know what your kids' strengths are, what their areas for growth are. They want to know what they do when no one is telling them what to do. They're going to ask what their favorite subjects are. They're going to ask about extracurriculars. They will ask a lot of questions. And the more you can tell us about your students, the better match we can make because we take everything that you share with us and everything we know about our mentors, and we find a dream mentor who shares that subject matter expertise that you're looking for, who has areas and nodes of connection. And then students and mentors start meeting on that weekly basis. And that's kind of the holistic overview of what Curious Cardinals is, who we are, and what we do. I know I've been talking at you for the past 20 minutes, so I will open it up to Q&A and would love to hear what questions people have. And I will start. I know Naz wrote in the chat, what is the best age to start? And I know Brittany answered that we support students of all ages, K through 12. I will elaborate on that just to get us started. Yes, we work with K through 12 students, and so we would say the majority of our students are in that 7th to 11th grade age range, but we have worked with a lot of gifted and talented younger K through 12 students. We've had consult calls with 4-year-olds. It's not unheard of, but it's super specific to your kid and who they are and what their needs are. And it really depends, and the highlight of what we do and is that it's personalized, and so we can meet your kid where they are. Sometimes younger students will do 2 30-minute sessions a week instead of one 1 hour session, and so we try to be flexible and accommodate whenever we can. And then Diana, to answer your question of meeting online versus in person, we prioritize the best match, which means that we pull from our mentor base around the world. And so most often students and their mentors are meeting virtually. That's really the best model. It allows for the most flexibility. But if the mentor happens to be local, so if you live in Palo Alto and your mentor is at Stanford, it could be possible to arrange a time for them to meet up in person in those bigger hubs, but we prioritize the match over geographic location. And so that can be the short answer of that is that we're primarily a virtual service. And then can Kaylee or Brittany share the pricing info in the chat for to answer kind of I'll share. You can pay for packages. You can also pay for a monthly subscription. There's some flexibility built in. If you want to do weekly sessions, we encourage parents and families to do those weekly sessions. We've done this for 6 years. We've worked with 15,000 students. We know it works best. but there is flexibility baked in. So if you want a biweekly option instead, there's that option to be flexible and again personalize this to your needs. And we will share more about pricing in the chat. Thank you. And I can also share our pricing page if you want to read more, but I know Kaylee sent kind of the overview of how things work. And so hopefully that gives you an idea of what the options are if you wanted to do a long-term commitment or a month-to-month commitment or pay as you go. Cara, if we wanted a passion project, Cara, can you explain, are you thinking more like pathfinding, brainstorming now, but not yet ready to start? I guess if you can clarify a little bit about what you're hoping for, that would be awesome. And then I can answer that
Can
better.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So my son is a little bit younger. He's still in 8th grade, and has some ideas, has a few areas of pretty deep interest, but hasn't kind of rounded it out. I think he's still pretty young. I think he needs a little bit more schooling and figuring stuff out. So I'd be looking for more of like a brainstorming partner to rather than kind of shoving down his throat, like, hey, this is what you should do, so he can explore for the next year and then kind of settle into a mentor where he, works on a project that he's really truly passionate about. So I guess my question is there, can you match with people in an earlier phase just to brainstorm, and then maybe in a year or so, once he's had time to kind of sit with things and kind of mature a little bit, then settle into a more regular project that he executes on with a regular mentor?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love the way you're thinking about this and love the way you're thinking about timing. 8th grade and especially if you wanted to do something in summer is a great time to kind of brainstorm and think about the journey and do the exploration phase. This is the perfect time for it in his kind of overall arcing journey. So yes, you can do kind of a pathfinding phase. Maybe it's a series of mini projects or different exploration elements, and then at whatever point you're ready, we can do kind of the breakdown of looking at what it would be to maybe it's the same mentor, maybe it's a different mentor of what a long-term project would be. And so that's totally an option. And all you would need to do if that's how you want to set it up is when you schedule a call with someone like Kaylee or Brittany, you just share with them exactly what you just shared with me, and you would say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what my goals are, this is how I would want to set it up, and then they would be able to help think about how to best set that up for success for your specific student. And so they would ask more detailed questions about who your student is and start thinking about what that process would look like. And we'd probably want to come up with some sort of mini projects or some tangible thing to make the exploration feel a bit more concrete, but that's definitely an option.
That's brilliant. May I ask just two quick follow-up questions? Can you
Yeah.
talk about the pricing of the sort of package a la carte versus the membership? And then secondly, I'm just curious how long these mentors, like how transient it is if they're in college and then they go out and get jobs. Like, do these mentors stay with you for 6 months, a year, 5 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
great questions. I will to highlight the billing options. Kaylee shared kind of what that looks like if you do a 4-month commitment or a month-to-month commitment or pay as you go. And so that's would be pretty specific to your situation and what you decide works for you. So I don't want to be prescriptive there without like kind of thinking through more of what exactly you're looking for. And so if that's something you want to discuss in more detail, I would encourage you to schedule a call with Kaylee or Brittany or someone on our team, and I'll let one of them share the link to schedule a call with them in the chat right now. And so I'm gonna keep that vague on purpose, just because it's super dependent on specifically what your needs are and what you're looking for. But to answer the second part of your question about how long mentors work with us, mentors can work with us for years. I was a mentor for 2 years before I joined our full-time team. And a lot of my friends from college still mentor. Our mentors have to commit to working with students for 6 months. That's the minimum commitment when you accept a new student. And so a lot of mentors stick with us a lot longer. Even in there, I started as a mentor when I was a student at Northwestern, and I worked with students when I was a student. And then in my first year of postgrad, I worked with students before I joined our full-time team. And so it's definitely something that students do as undergrad and then grad students and then recent grads. CC, who I shared as an example, is one of the original Curious Cardinals mentors, and she is still working with students as someone who's a recent grad. And so it's definitely not the not out of the realm of possibility to work with Curious Cardinals for 5 years as a mentor, and then kind of on the student specific engagement level overview of how things go. I would say it's most common for students in mentor engagements to be in that 6 month range, but it could be 6 months, it could be 4 years. We've had students work with the same mentor from ninth all the way through 12th grade. We've also had students who need to work with a variety of mentors. And so to your point, if your um, child was doing kind of passion exploration and they have a mentor who can help them more broadly in whatever kind of broad area of interest. Let's say they're like interested in sports and they want to do sports media and sports analytics and they want to do like a series of sports exploration, and then a year from now they decide that they want to explore neuroscience instead. The person who's best suited to help them with sports analytics is probably not the best person to help them with neuroscience research. And so we could facilitate a rematch at that point and match them to another expert. But our mentors do make a minimum commitment to working with students, and we want our relationships to be long term, and we want to set this up for best success. And so while life does happen, and we can't promise that your college student won't graduate and get the job at Goldman Sachs and not be available anymore, we do prioritize those longer term relationships when possible. Diana, do you have a question? What other questions can I answer for people? What else is anyone wondering while you still are here? You have my undivided time and attention, so happy to answer anything else people are wondering about. Well, I'll stay on if anyone has any more questions. But so grateful that you guys spent time with us, and I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about Curious Cardinals. We would love to have the chance to work with your family and to help your student. So if you're interested, you can schedule a call. Kaylee shared the link in the chat, and we would love to work with you all. But we'll stay on for another minute if you have any more questions. But grateful that you joined us this morning and would love to welcome you into our community.
I just have a question on the different offerings that you had. The mentorship program is great, but along with that, there were these add-ons which talked about executive functioning. So
Yeah.
is that really an add-on, or if like during the school year, our immediate need for assistance is executive functioning? So is that something you recommend you guys like just picking that up first, or do you think it's a good idea to start with a mentor? Because we are in April, right? And this is like the end of the school year. I have a high schooler, so next 2 months are more on the school, making sure the academics are on track. And then while we are really keen on this passion project and stuff, but that is something I see more as a summer activity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll answer this in twofold. So, executive functioning is an add-on in the sense that If it's something that your student needs support with, it's a good thing to let us know up front so that we can find mentors who are better suited to support with executive functioning. We have mentors who specialize in it. If you're, for example, if your student has ADHD and they want a mentor who has ADHD can share tools and tips and tricks from that shared lived experience. That's also kind of why we want to know where your student is at and what support they need. And so, yes, all of our mentors can offer executive functioning support to an extent, and it can be intertwined. And the kind of thinking about the overall project management of a passion project. But if your student needs specific executive functioning support, it's a good thing to let us know up front. And that's why it's more of an add-on, just so that we can think about what support they might need. And so, in your specific scenario, I would probably say if you wanted an executive functioning academic support mentor for the next 2 months to end the school year on a high note, that could be a really good place to start. And then you could pivot to passion-based, project-based learning over the summer when there's more space and time for a passion project. But if that's something that would be helpful in these next 2 months in the final sprint of the school year, then the way I would frame it is if you wanted to start with that academic support with an emphasis on executive functioning, that would probably be the best place to start. And then that would look like coming to a consultation call and speaking to someone like Brittany or Kaylee and saying, my kid really needs help with their executive functioning to finish the school year. And then we want to do a passion project later, and maybe that can be with the same mentor, maybe it's with different mentors. But the way I would think about it is just being upfront and sharing with our team what you need and what your goals are.
Okay, yep, that's really helpful. Thank you.
And yes, we will share the recording so that you can review it or share it with your student or with your partner or with anyone else. So we will share this in a follow-up. Any other questions before we end the Zoom? Well, thank you all for joining us today. We'll follow up over email, but would love to work with your families and grateful that you spend time with us. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.